Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Yeah, it's already Wednesday. The middle of the week. Hump day. Happy hump day to those who celebrate. I don't know. That doesn't sound good. I reassembled my microphone stand. I had a vision of my son yanking this whole thing down and tearing it apart, and then not 2 hours later, he did it. It was right after the podcast yesterday. I got up and left the room and left the microphone in this position, which is he can grab. He's 2, by the way. He can grab it, and came back in. Everything looked fine, and then I went to grab it and swing it out of the way. And the clamp that clamps it to the desk was just like clunk, 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 and the whole thing fell apart in my hand. I'm like, oh, good. So reassembled all that. It's tighter than it was before, which is nice. Microphone stand rejuvenation complete. As I mentioned on the podcast very briefly yesterday, I did make a trek out to a gas station instead of the local 7-Eleven to see if I could find more Rockstar, and I did. Not much more. I feel like the Rockstar brand is on its way out. I don't know. It just feels like they're done. It feels like they just don't have shelf space the same way they used to, and that they're just, I don't know. It's hard not to just take that as like, oh, this thing is in the process of going away or something. I don't know. They had a few different types of recovery, including this new one that I've not seen, Berry Aid. And so I thought I would buy one of these. It says it has biotin in it, which is good because my nails could really use it. Magnesium and zinc. These recoveries are 160 milligrams, and they're not carbonated, which can make them a pretty smooth chug if you need to get the energy drinks inside of you fast and you don't want to shotgun carbonated liquids, which I get, it's unpleasant. These are not carbonated, so you could shoot these real fucking fast if you really wanted to. I was not a big, we built a funnel at one point, and I was able to funnel like 3 beers out of the top of it at a time. And we did that for, let's call it a summer. And it's hard on the throat. I don't know. I never got good at it. Before that, we bought me and a friend, they sold these things that they fit over bottles. And so it was like a tube that would go to the bottom of a bottle, and then you could fit it over it and then just shoot bottles of beer super fast. And it was like a ridiculous little apparatus for drinking beers fast, I guess. I don't know. Shotgunning beers, like I said, it's stupid. Like I feel like you could, if you feel like you have to get drunk as fast as possible, which I'm not going to judge. Just get something harder than beer. I don't know. Like the idea of doing that to yourself with beer, and then you're just like, well, now my stomach is full, and I don't know. And then you get people like the stunt drinkers online that'll, shotgun vodka and stuff like that, and you're just like, don't do that. That's how you end up in a hospital. I don't know. Hey, I don't want to judge your alcohol intake, I guess, but sketchy. Let's crack it. I cracked this open. Let's see what's up. Berry Aid. This is not unlike a blue raspberry, which is sort of what I drank yesterday. The Celsius Blue Crush, I think, is what we had yesterday. Not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of the Celsius. This is fine. Flavorful, very innocuous, just like a good time drink. Again, not carbonated. So you gulp it. It seems like you gulp it faster. It seems like it enters your body faster whether you want to or not. It just kind of happens. You could really just guzzle it. You could really just throw that whole thing back. Same as the recovery lemonade, which I haven't really had much of lately. I got a orange. They call it Orange Aid now. And I don't know if it's a different. It seems like it's the same as the old Rockstar Recovery Orange, which is pretty high up in the list if I remember correctly. Here's lemonade at number 13. Yeah, orange. They call it Orange Aid now, but it seems the same. And then this is berry aid. I guess that's the thing. I guess they added aid to all of them because now it's lemonade and it's orange aid, and then this is berry aid. So I don't know. If you're looking to get your aids, Rockstar's got you covered. Yeah, this is fine. I don't know. It's I would certainly take an orange aid over it, but it's solid. Again, very easygoing, very just like 160 milligrams. It's not even really that much caffeine. But you just need a little. If you're on the track where a little bump like that is all you need, then hey. I'm not drinking as much of the recoveries anymore because I'm usually drinking these C4s that are like 300 milligrams. And so these 160s are actually fine. Actually, if I really break it down, it's fine. No one needs 300. No one needs 300 milligrams of caffeine first thing in the morning like that. Or rather, it doesn't work as well as it sounds like it should. There's still, the old 5-hour energy drinks, energy advertisements where they're just like, you get those 2 a.m. Like I'm still like, yeah, I hit like 2 p.m. rather. I hit the early afternoon, and I'm yawning. I'm tired. I'm like, I'm done. You get to like 4 p.m. I have fallen asleep in this chair at 4:15. It'll be like a situation where like my son's gone up to go to bed, my daughter's watching TV, the baby will be here in the chair quietly hanging out, and I'm like sitting here going like, what is, where am I going? What? Like it's yeah. Some days, it's what happens when you wake up at 4:30 in the morning. So the time change has been nice. My son has been sleeping in, relatively speaking. Like I got him at 6 this morning, which for me was a very late time to sleep in. I fuck it up though. I always try to go back to sleep. I get him and we come down here and then he hangs out and watches some TV and then I'm like, cool man, I'm gonna try to go back to sleep if you'll let me. And then sometimes he lets me, sometimes he doesn't. And so sometimes I'll like squeeze out an extra 45 minutes, but then I wake up a mess. That's why I don't nap. I'm not a napper. I'm not Napa. I like the media. Because when I nap, I wake up hot and scared. Where am I? Let's get this on the list. This is better than G Fuel clickbait. But it's not, you know what, that's right where it goes. It is not as good as C4 Ultimate WWE Berry Power Bomb, which they still sell. Despite it being like seemingly like a limited time flavor or something for WrestleMania or something. I forget when they actually rolled it out. Berry Aid. All right, cool. That is wait. Just so you can see it here, our new number 33. Okay. My wife just got back from the grocery store. I'm going to go check on something real quick and make sure everything is cool there. I will be back in a moment. I'll be back in a flash. I'll be right back. And then we'll play some of the Llamasoft collection and stuff. Stay tuned. Did you know that your temperature at night can have one of the greatest impacts on your sleep quality? If you wake up too hot or too cold, you have to check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Inspired by NASA, Miracle Made uses silver-infused fabrics and makes temperature-regulating bedding so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. You know what it's like to not sleep at the perfect temperature all night. You know, you wake up, you wake up sweaty, you wake up cold, you sweat at some point during the night, and then it gets cold, and so you wake up wet and cold, like the worst combination. I've got Miracle Made sheets on my bed right now. Right now, as I'm speaking into this microphone, as I live and breathe, I have these sheets on my bed to regulate that temperature, and it's been great. You know, keeps me warm when I need to be warm. It keeps everything where it needs to be, and that's been fantastic. And hey, results in better quality sleep. But that's not all that Miracle Made sheets can do. This silver infusion, you know, this silver up in the fabric, that means that they can prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresher 3 times longer than other sheets. Keeps the stink out of them, which is handy. You know, and because of that, you know, you don't have to wash them quite as often, so you're not lugging bedding back and forth to the laundry room over and over again. You know, you can kind of save a trip a little bit, wash them a little bit less frequently, and all of that stuff. And that saves a little money, saves a little hassle. And that's been very handy as well. You know, none of this would matter, though, if these sheets were just rough sandpaper or whatever. But you're in luck because Miracle Made's sheets are luxuriously comfortable. Without the high price tag of other luxury brands, they feel as nice, if not nicer, than sheets used by some 5-star hotels. So stop sleeping on bacteria. That'll clog your pores up. You can have breakouts, acne, all of this. Sleep clean with Miracle. Go to trymiracle.com/Jeff to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use that promo code Jeff at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. My man. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you will get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/Jeff and use the code Jeff to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Man, that's crazy. Crazy. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Jeff to treat yourself. Thank you to Miracle Made for sponsoring the episode. All right, everybody, let's get into this. This Jeff Minter collection, Llamasoft, the Jeff Minter story, came out this morning. I have played a little bit of it, but I figured I would not get too deep into it before we were here streaming. So let's fire this up. Let's get this capturing. The mouse will not leave the window. It is in. There we go. Okay, we got to... Oh, boy. I cannot get them... Okay, all right. Hang on. It's all gone bad. Okay, there we go. Let's set this to this and... Capture foreground window with hotkey. It's what I should use all the time, but sometimes it's unreliable. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Let's why is it doing that? Let's get this game running in a window so that I can maybe have a better luck of getting my mouse back, and then maybe we'll be able to do it. Windowed. There we go. Oh, and then it immediately starts working. Ridiculous. Okay, now if I swap it back to full, okay. Ha-ha! If you've seen the other digital Eclipse releases, Atari 50 or the Karateka interactive documentary, this will all look pretty familiar. You know, the menus are pretty similar and all of that. But this is obviously celebrating the work of Jeff Minter, and it is not a complete catalog of his work. It has a lot of really great stuff in it and a lot of really weird stuff in it, and that I think is appropriate for the types of releases that Jeff Minter has had. If you're not familiar, Jeff Minter is the guy that did Gridrunner. Is that maybe not? He's the guy that did Space Giraffe. He's the guy that did Tempest 2000, but did not make the original Tempest. But any of the subsequent Tempest 2000 and beyond is pretty much all him. Tempest 2000 is probably the thing that is he's really most known for. Prior to that, I feel like it was maybe Gridrunner. Maybe Gridrunner was the thing. Anyway. There has been a documentary in development, or in editing, or I don't know what the story is on it, but the some of this footage, I get the impression, is taken from some of the, some if not all of this footage is taken from some of the shoots done for, I believe it's called Hearts of Neon or Heart of Neon. I don't remember if Hearts is plural or not, but that is a documentary about Jeff Minter that has been. That is still not out. My understanding is that it's supposed to come out this year, but I feel like it got announced a very long time ago, and it's weird to me that it is not out. And now it's weird that this is out, and then that is still coming out. But anyway, I'm not sure how much footage is in this. Is my point here. I went through the first chapter here, and you get kind of one video. But not a lot of other video here in the first chapter, and so we'll get into the second chapter here. That's a little bit after the startup of the studio, if you will, and when he first kind of had the Llamasoft name come around and all that sort of stuff. So let's see here. We're first faced with this VIC-20 game, Abductor. You'll find a recurring theme, I think, through a lot of Jeff Minter's work here, where this says, a simple shooting game with elements drawn from several of the arcade games that Jeff loved. Like that, I feel like you could sum up a lot of his work as like you see elements of arcade games of the 80s in here. I think that's still, when you look at some of the things he's done in virtual reality more recently, even, I think you can still find little throwback elements and stuff like that. So there's a lot of, this is a VIC-20 game. Oh God. Some real King and Balloon vibes here. Why was I dying there? Was I getting hit? No. What is a VIC-20? A VIC-20 is an early 80s computer from Commodore. It was the predecessor to the Commodore 64. It looks very similar, except it is a different color. You know, the case is a different color. And it is quite a bit less powerful than the C64, I suppose I would say. The VIC was a cool computer. I had a friend who had one, and we would play Radar Rat Race all the time on it, which was a clone of Rally X. Here you go. They made a RAM cartridge for the VIC-20. And here's a look at the tape that it came on. It's a big tape. All right, good. The tabs are busted out, so we can't record over it without getting some tape for our tape. Oh, that's grimy. I need some Q-tips. All right. He saw posters for Blade Runner, and then that made him think of the term Gridrunner. And then here we go. Yeah, okay. Came up with the logo. And then you get little quotes from him here. That's cool. That's interesting. The idea that, like, oh, you know, when making a game, kind of sat down and came up with like a font for the logo and the character set and all that stuff. Like there are a lot of games on the Commodore 64 kind of that era that like just straight up stole Minter's fonts. So here's a picture of the Commodore 64. Long may it rain. The VIC-20 was like this, but white. Basically. It's a very clean, high-res picture of a Commodore 64. It's a beautiful machine. I had a 128, which is far less... well, I don't know. It's more ergonomic to type on, that's for sure. Okay, so he programmed a Commodore 64 version of Rocks, which is a game that he had made multiple times before on previous machines. Shooting down falling meteors before they impact the surface. Controls. Okay, yeah. So a lot of these games were keyboard games, and they have, as part of the process of emulating them, they have given these games, proper gamepad controls. In a lot of cases, obviously, you know, because this is on consoles as well. This is the PC version of it, but oh, this is already much more cinematic than the other versions of Rocks. Okay, whoops. So I can shoot in 3 directions, and I'm trying to. This is much easier than I believe the Spectrum version that I played. So, you know, there's like a little bit of Astro Smash here. There's a little bit of Missile Command here, I suppose you could say. I might even say the directional shooting reminds me a little bit of Atlantis. Oh. So I like the idea that, like, because, you know, there are a lot of games that look, you know, from the early era of some of these systems, right? Early days of C64, or just like, you know, some of the Spectrum stuff and, you know, bedroom programmers and everything. Like, you'll see, oh, my moon base got done in. Your score was this. To this is added a bonus for your 30% shooting accurate. Your final score was thus. Such a specific... Oh, it's good. So So, you know, that was 1983. So you'll see a lot of this work evolve, you know? And so we get to Gridrunner. And again, this is kind of, I feel like the first Jeff Minter game I played had to have been Gridrunner. Probably not the VIC-20 version here. But, out in Tadley. So Gridrunner, so previously to this, Minter had made a version of Centipede, but he had only seen screenshots of Centipede. And so it's not really quite the same game, but it's still mostly accurate. Gridrunner is to Centipede as like maybe like Space Giraffe is to Tempest, perhaps, or maybe Tempest 2000 is to Tempest. Did Minter have a publisher? How did he make the tapes? They covered that a little bit earlier. Like he went into business with some guys that seemed like they were ripping him off, and then his parents stepped in and broke up that deal, and his mom was running the business. Like his job was to make the games, and she was handling the business end of it. But, you know, they were duplicating their own tapes, it sounds like, out of their house for a while, you know, kind of a family business sort of thing. But eventually other publishers would bring his games to the US and, you know, this is a very fast version of this. So it's, you know, you see the kind of the Centipede concept here, but also you've got these ships around the outside edge fucking with you. And eventually, yeah, the instead of just mushrooms that sit there forever, the blocks that these ships make when they fire eventually fall at you, which is a hassle. And Gridrunner is a game that I think, you know, he has released a lot of times in a lot of different incarnations. I believe there is even, as part of the Minotaur collection, I want to say there is even a version of this that plays in VR that I think is largely based on a version that came out on phones. Oh boy. Okay, we got to get out of there. I was trapped. Oh man. Okay. It's no joke. Am I going to not finish level 2 of... Oh, that was it. That was the end. I in fact did not finish level 2 of Gridrunner. Ugh. Okay. Okay, it'll respawn at the top, and then, or at the top of your movements. There we go. Okay. If you've seen a homebrew arcade game called Mr. Do's Nightmare, it incorporates the weird ships around the outside edge thing, but puts it into this weird bootleg Mr. Do game. It's a... I always think of Gridrunner whenever whenever Mr. Do's Nightmare is streamed on Twitch. The robust streaming community of streamers that are always streaming Mr. Do's Nightmare. I would never. I'm not a master of a game like that. I wouldn't dare. Yeah, so there you have it. I mean, Llamasoft's first major worldwide hit, and yeah, the Gridrunner went places. I don't know if it was the VIC-20 version specifically, or if it was later versions, but here we have a version for the Commodore 64, and I'm pretty sure this is the one I would have played. HES Hesware was a US based publisher, I believe, and so they brought it over. Much more reasonable speed. Oh, man. I like the way it draws the grid. Cool sound effects. Ah! The ships on the outside edge are like just annoying. Like, you know, if you play the percentages, odds are they're not going to hit you, but boy, they sure seem to hit you. But they work on a rhythm, right? So get over here. Apparently, I'm absolute dog shit at Gridrunner. Who could have guessed? Oh, I was going over to shoot that thing, and then as I did it, it progressed to the point where it was falling on me, and now here we are. Dead. Dead again. Okay. So this collection is interesting because there are a lot of games in here. Jeff Minter is nothing if not prolific. Like he's made a lot of games over his career. That said, like there's a lot that's not here. There's stuff that's not a part of this collection that I would have liked to have seen. Chief among them is the Nuon version of Tempest 3000, because I've never seen it. And there's not a good Nuon emulator out there either, so it would be cool if someone made a cool Nuon emulator. I don't want to buy a Nuon. The title of the game changed from Gridrunner to Gridrunner because there was not enough space on the screen to put a space between the words. Yeah. Look at these ads. You know, so like that's the thing. Like, you know, there's a, what is it? It's called From Bedrooms to Billions, I think is what it's called. It's a documentary about the UK games industry. And it is about a lot of these kind of bedroom programmers on the good old spectrum. and you know, the impact they had on the industry then, and kind of like, you know, looking forward to like what happened after that, and all of that. So that's, but like, you know, despite, you know, you think about it now, it's like someone just making games in their bedroom and selling tapes or whatever. But like, you know, they're still taking out ads in the December '82 issue of Your Computer. They're still out here putting pictures of llamas in magazines, you know? A full-page ad from the author of Defenda with an A. And so that's, to me, that's like the interesting through line when you look at a lot of the stuff Jeff Minter has done, the stuff that Llamasoft has done. Like, from the get-go, he was making his own version of Centipede. He was making a version of Defender and taking the ER off it and replacing it with an A to avoid lawsuits, which eventually that game got renamed as Andy's Attack. The awesome speed, sound, and graphics gives you the best blast available for unexpanded. You'll get Vic. Gives you the best available for unexpanded. You'll get Vic. I feel like that's something missing there. I would get these, and look at how shameless some of this is here. Look at if you can read it, the description of the game tracks with 2 X's. This is the VIC-20 version of the brand new arcade game Amidar. Which is, yes, it's an Amidar clone, absolutely. But like, this was not done in a licensed way. It is not the official VIC-20 version of Amidar by any stretch, you know? And so Bomber over here on the left side for the spectrum says, yes, a full feature version of the popular game Blitz. And then down here on the lower right, Centipede, the original game from the original author. This is the identical program to that being sold by other companies for 3 times our price. So, you know, people were ripping off his game and selling it themselves, presumably. Yeah, it's such a fascinating, it's such a crazy industry, you know? And back then when people were just selling tapes and whatever else, you know, Too Short and Freddie B selling tapes out of their trunk in East Oakland. What's the difference? Jeff Minter selling tapes at the computer show in Tadley. Look at that Gridrunner shirt. Short hair for Jeff Minter here. Okay, so we have a video about Gridrunner.
So yeah, they've got this guy building on what he's done before, trying new things. I don't think he'd be trying to figure out a formula or a grand design.
This hitchy video I was experiencing, and I thought this might be ironed out by launch, but yeah, the video on the PC version has been a little hitchy for me.
And then there is that lovely holy moment where it all joins together into one thing.
Which is a bummer.
It was sort of like Centipede. It was based off Centipede. But I'd got to the point where I enjoyed putting my own spin on things. I was no longer content just to try and copy an arcade game. I wanted to do something else.
I like the idea that if they're shooting things, creates obstructions which then alter the path of things to come. And that does happen in Gridrunner to an extent. I'd put lasers and stuff in and made it much more of a space theme, a garden theme. And in Gridrunner, every time the laser pulses, all the obstacles on the field advance one level of evolution and they've got a maximum of 6 they can go through, and then they turn into a bomb and fall down.
It was a nice game. I thought it was quite nice. It took me a week start to finish.
A week.
And we had a contract to sell the game in the US. I think it was one of the first Commodore shows. And this American guy in a suit came and was looking at.
Yeah, like I said, the video's been a little hitchy for me. Even when I'm not streaming, it's not a byproduct of running the stream.
You put that on a cartridge for us to sell in the US. True to his word, he went back and I figured out how to put the game on a cartridge, and they started selling it, and it sold okay, but it got our foot in the door over there, and they wanted more games. So I made Gridrunner, and I sent out a copy to the guy in the US. And here's what I've just done. I was woken up from sleep by the phone ringing, and I got up, and it was like 3:30 in the morning, something like that. I'm going to go out and see what's what. The phone rings, and the guy goes, "That game's amazing, we've been playing it for like 8 hours, I can't believe how good it is." So you're probably going to make some decent money off this. I'm like, "Oh, okay. I went back to bed and back to sleep, woke up in the morning, thought, is that just a dream I had last night about somebody ringing me up and saying I'm going to make some money? And thankfully I'd written down on the pad by the phone what had been said. So. And sure enough, they did a great job of selling that game. I think it got to number 1 on at least one of the US software charts at some point, and made us a fair bit of money. I think that was the point when my parents realised that something was really up. Maybe this is going to work out quite well. We've done so many of them, really. We did Gridrunner on the 8-bits, that was more or less just plain Gridrunner that we had on the VIC-20, except the different resolutions. Then I did Super Gridrunner on the ST and Amiga, that was controlled with a mouse, and you had like a detachable nose cone which you could place in one part of the screen, and then you could move to another side and they'd both be firing. And you had
Amiga games are
use
so
the right
weird.
mouse button to retrieve it at any time, a bit like the nose cone in R-Type. Then we had Gridrunner on the Pocket PC. Yeah, the thing there was you had to rescue sheep that were coming down the screen, and if you got killed, then the pieces of your wreckage would start to fall down, but if you managed to guide them onto the back of a sheep, then you get a sheepy save and come back to life. And that actually came from a bug. That came from a bug where if you died, then it would act as if you'd picked up the sheep when you hit it. And I thought, it started happening quite a bit. I thought, that's
It's crazy to think, like, you know, that Pocket
when you
PC
died,
version of Gridrunner
you
was
retrieved
2002, and I feel like a lot of the stuff he made after that looks like that,
Gridrunner Evolution.
you know?
There's a lot more stuff going on in there. It's a much more advanced game in some ways. I ripped off sounds from just about all my favourite 1980s arcade games because I wanted it to sound like a 1980s arcade room. You know that feeling when you walk in and there's just all these sounds going off all around you? That's what I want to sound like playing Gridrunner, because it's supposed to be an evocation of an arcade game that never existed. It's done in the style of a Namco coin drop, so it needs that same kind of atmosphere around it. I think the Gridrunner on the iPhone, it's simpler than some of the other versions, but it's very pure, it's very arcade-like, and it's lovely.
Those are Mooncresta sound effects there.
The most recent version. By taking Gridrunner back to its roots and then just building a few simple enhancements, I think I've come up with a better game. Because your power-up stack, I mean, you start out and you just got to pew, pew, pew out the front, and that gets a bit faster as you shoot things, so you pew, pew, pew a bit faster. And you get various little tiles that power you up, and they may give you 4-way pew, 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 or something like that for a little bit, but you get the stacking effect. So you can have 3 or 4 of these things come together, and then suddenly you're just this intense fire flower of like shots just bursting out and flooding the whole thing. You just feel like a god for a few seconds. And it's nice, so it makes you, it keeps you tied into the game. It makes you, it gives you a little rush of like, yes, a little touch of euphoria there to help you along your way.
Okay. Weird that they, you know, they kind of didn't mention. I mean, maybe there's a separate video later or something, but kind of didn't mention that those more recent versions were in VR. Like maybe that was obvious from looking at it, but I think the use of sound effects from other games is always really fascinating to me when you go through a lot of these, and so that's kind of I'm gonna pull this up real quick because that's kind of one of the other. I believe one of the games in this collection has been modified to remove some of the licensed sound effects. Let me find that real quick and see if I can figure out which one it was, because it could be any of them. Llamatron 2112. It says here there were multiple versions of Llamatron, each of which had some different sound effects. Additionally, some sounds had to be removed and replaced for licensing reasons in Digital Eclipse's version. So, yeah. That's unfortunate. You know, those versions are out there if you're looking for them. Headbang. I had never heard of Headbangers Heaven until coming upon this collection. A guy named Chico who enjoyed being hit on the head with heavy metal hammers came for the heavy metal fiend. That's me. So I think what we want to do is we want to get hit by some hammers, but not red hammers and not too many hammers. We need to get the money, and we can only get hit on the head. If we get hit on the shoulder, I think you just straight up die. All right. My skull hurts. All right. We're going to make our way back. It's all going to be fine. It's a lot of hammers. We got the money back, but I must have caught too many hammers there. And now my skull hurts. Well, I caught that one, man. Must have landed on the shoulder. It timed it wrong. It's a cool little printout effect. Barry Manilow Class 3. That's very good. After reading a review of the Empire Strikes Back video game that described the walkers as robot camels, so yeah, this is his take on that Star Wars game for the Atari 2600. The Empire Strikes Back game. We can turn camel collision on or off. So we got a radar scanner on screen. Oh, come on. All right, we got one. Now on to the next one. Ah. All right. I love that Empire Strikes Back game for the 2600. I think it's got such a cool look and sound effects and stuff. Like it's rad. Okay. Oh man. I don't know that I ever saw this game kind of in its... Well, so I didn't get a Commodore 64 until much later in the 80s. And there were very few opportunities for me to buy legitimate Commodore 64 software at that point. There was a Software Etc. or something in the mall. And I remember I bought... I don't know. My parents would buy games for me for holidays and stuff like that for the Commodore, but half the reason I wanted a Commodore 64 is because I knew other people who had one. And so it was a factor of just like, oh, we'll just get a bunch of blank discs and then I will have hundreds of games. And so that's mostly how it went on the Commodore. But there were a handful of games that I did buy, but I feel like most of them were bad. It was like this broken version of 720, the arcade game. That was broken. Like the first shipping version of it was like it didn't have the bees. There was no game over state in it because the bees that were supposed to kill you in Skate or Die never actually appeared. And it was just a weird, I don't know, just a weird problem that they just... Trans-sector hyperdrive engaging. Oh, God. Oh, God. Ah. Ah. Like, the flight is pretty good. Like, it does the same thing that Empire Strikes Back on the 2600 did. Where you kind of flip to the... And Defender does this to a degree as well, of course. Of, like, when you change direction, you kind of automatically flip to the other side. I guess that's why Camel Collision is such a controversial choice. All right, let's... And to be honest, my mutant camels ended up looking like two fat men in a pantomime mutant camel suit. Yeah. I don't want to just like blow through all the videos in this, but if you're going to present me with
living in the countryside. I ended up buying this little house in Wales, in this beautiful little valley.
I wanted to have a bit of space for beasties, really.
When I see Jeff Minter posting videos of him hanging out with his animals and feeding them,
When you're getting stressed out in front
It's
of
when you
the
really
TV,
think like,
indoors all
this
day,
dude has figured something
so
out.
Nice to be able to,
This
like,
dude
go
has
out and
is
take a stroll in the field. You can't really. be
he's got
stressed out now.
Morning, Jerry.
he's got his stuff figured out.
Go off to, feed the sheep in the morning and do a nice 10-minute long Twitter video of him just feeding crackers to his sheep.
I'm sure you've seen Jeff's legendary sheep time videos that he does. Just let's go out and mooch with the sheep in the morning. Well, we can stream it from anywhere on the farm because we've got a Wi-Fi network all across the fields. And it's the perfect Geek 7, isn't it? It's like, I'm surrounded by green fields, but I've got Wi-Fi. What more do you need?
Jeff's living this gentle, suburban, modest sort of lifestyle where like his greatest indulgence is like sheep or like llamas, having, this handful of animal companions.
I got the llamas in 2001. I got a pair of llamas then, but one of them died last year. We found out at the time he was probably one of the oldest llamas in Britain. He was like 25 years old, which is an extremely good age for a llama. The whole llama thing came about basically because my parents had one of these Time Life books about South America and it had a nice illustration of a llama in it. I like the look of the llama. It's like an interesting beastie. I used to reference it in some of my early work. When I was thinking of a name for the software company, I'd written a little program on the VIC-20 which effectively let me draw on a little square of characters. I could draw like a little high-res design. I drew this little llama in there. And I wrote underneath it Llamasoft with 3 exclamation marks after it. I thought, yeah, that's what I'm going to call my software company. It's going to be called Llamasoft.
Jeff is extremely unique in what he's done from day one. Jeff, from the very beginning, I think, knew what great gameplay was. And he throws a bunch of beasties in there and put his own trademark on it.
But I didn't really go into the games that much until I Attack of the Mutant Camels. Again, it's based on somebody else's game. I'd been to Winchester. There was a little video game shop in there. I can't remember what my parents were doing down there, but while I was just hanging out in town while they were there, I went in the shop, thought I could play some of they had VCS games in there, and they had the Parker Brothers Empire Strikes Back game. And it's fairly crude, but they've got these big blocky walkers that walk along. And I played it. Didn't at that point think Camels. The Camels thing came when I saw a review of that game in computer video games, and they described...
It's interesting that they're showing the box and playing the audio from the game, but not showing the game.
Actually, you could do a game like that, but why not have them be giant mutant camels? It was a bit rough. The camels looked like 2 fat guys in a camel pantomime costume, and the scrolling was very chunk res. I hadn't really worked out at that point how to do the fine scrolling on the Commodore 64. That sort of set the direction. Things kind of went from there, really. That was what Llamasoft was going to be. We were going to be the people who did these games with these weird animals in.
It's cool because like that's
Well,
I don't know.
my favorite Jeff Minter game is Revenge of the Mutant Camels. So I remember the first time I loaded it up and I was like, what the hell is this? Am I controlling a camel? And the camel is shooting. I was expecting a ship or whatever, because back in those days, camel was not the protagonist of a game until Jeff came along. And I think that's...
And now everyone's
really
doing camel
cool and makes
games.
him unique, and his game's unique as well. And it taught me that there is no limits when it comes to making games. You can do whatever you want. And Jeff showed me that.
Yeah, that's cool. Laser Zone was another one that you just get these discs with 20 games on the disc, or 5 games aside, or whatever it was. And I have Laser Zone on one of those discs somewhere. Because there was eventually a C64 version of this, but I guess this is the VIC-20 version of Laser Zone. Ah, these are great sound effects. So this is like a backwards Gridrunner. This is Space Giraffe to Gridrunner's Tempest. Wait, why? Okay. Oh, can I save? Oh, once one gets down there, that we get a. How do I zap? Bad news, Zone Gunner. Oh boy, that went sideways immediately, huh? There we go. That's the right trigger. You know, you can go in and, you know, make some changes to, well, this is if you're a really sick individual, if you're a disgusting human being, you can stretch it out to 16 by 9. Which, you know, maybe you got some weird scaler that you're using that makes that make sense because you're squashing it back down after the fact or something. You repulsed it. Oh, whoa. We can... Okay, I didn't realize that shooting diagonally was an option here. Can I shoot myself? You can shoot yourself, right? Now that I'm doing this, yeah, you can totally kill yourself. These are great. These are great sound effects. Shot myself again. Yeah, this is like for a VIC-20 game, you know, the speed with which all of this is moving and everything is okay. So this is the C64 version. Oh, you could play with multiple joysticks. I feel like this is a better, smoother game, but the sound effects of the VIC-20 version are pretty good. Let's shoot ourselves. Yeah. There's a grind to that VIC-20 version. This is too smooth. The Commodore 64 is too powerful. £6 seems like a I don't know. I don't know what is that what, like $12? in US money back then. Maybe. We see the evolution of the catalog page as well. Bunch of unsourced quotes. Quite simply the best VIC-20 game in existence. Feel the humiliation as a carelessly aimed blast slams into the side of your last remaining ship. The biggest advance in video games since Defender hit the arcades. Yeah, you just envision the Minter family gathered around a table trying to come up with sick quotes for Laser Zone. Yeah, here's Matrix, the sequel to Gridrunner. I didn't. Oh, that's a really good screaming kind of noise. I got mystery bonus 3. So we can go all the way up here, which is wild. No DDT equivalent, so it's not just like, hey, here's Millipede to Gridrunner's Centipede. These are really good. I don't really mess around with VIC-20s or VIC-20 emulation or anything these days. But maybe I should, I don't know, maybe I should spend a little more time with some VIC-20 games, because these sound effects, oh my god, all hell's broken loose. Right, you get the little dude up there, and he shoots down at you, right? I think he is not, I don't think he's a friend, yeah. Oh, no, that was the ship below us. Oh. Whoa, now that's hitching up. That's weird. Whew. All right, let's move on. Let's see if there's a. Yeah, here's the Commodore 64 version. I think it's an interesting, because I wonder if it was tempting to put because this this is the right order of operations, right? Because this version came first. But the Commodore 64 version was probably played by a lot more people. Also, I guess the thing I'm not really, I don't really know the answer to this, but you see a lot of this stuff of, a lot of their copy puts his name in it, Jeff Minter has taken Gridrunner. And I was that really, you know, was that common back then? I don't know that like individuals' names were always like, hey, this person designed this game back then. I don't know if that was like a common thing, because it's hard, you know, because like by the time all this stuff got to the US, and again, by the time I got my hands on it years after its initial release, because this is 1983. So 1983 is, you know, I was 8 years old. This was probably right around the time that I was getting my Atari 400 and 800 and using those. Like, I wouldn't get a C60. I got a Commodore 128 in, let's call it 88 or 89. And so that's years later. That's like the C64 was kind of on its way out at that point. The 128 never really caught on in a meaningful way, like as an upgrade to that machine. It didn't get a lot of games on its own. And mainly it also performed as a Commodore 64 in C64 mode. So 128 mode was pretty useless. But yeah, by the time I got a Commodore 64, like I said, there was not, you know, and games like this were not being sold in stores. When you would go to a store and find computer games of any sort by the late 80s, it was like, here's, you know, like Maniac Mansion and stuff like that was starting to, you know, come out. And EA put out a game called LA Crackdown, I remember buying, that really sucked. Not just a pretty packet. Hey, no bigs. Matrix requires a joystick. Oh, we didn't actually play this version. That's kind of, I mean, when I think about the C64, like those kind of smooth, these booby kind of boo 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 sound effects. That's right, Mystery Bonus 3. So I know what involvement Drew Scanlon had with these. He's in the credits. So I don't know, because some of this footage I gather is taken from sessions meant for a Jeff Minter documentary that is still not out yet, called Heart of Neon. I don't know how much of it was, I presumably Drew edited it, if nothing else, but I don't know how much new shooting they did for this, or if this was something where because it says they partnered with the documentary developer, so I don't know how much of this footage was taken from that. I get the impression that a lot of it, especially like the footage, the Minter interview footage and stuff like that, is stuff that was originally produced for that documentary. There's some stuff that looks like a lot sharper in the intro that I wonder if maybe they shot that stuff, if Digital Eclipse shot that stuff, and then a lot of it is kind of more like file footage or something to that effect. That's right. I remember, so Matrix Gridrunner 2 got renamed to Attack of the Mutant Camels in the US. So that was always the thing. People will talk about Attack of the Mutant Camels as this like Empire Strikes Back game, and I'd be like, what? That's not Attack of the Mutant Camels. Attack of the Mutant Camels is like a Gridrunner thing. Now we're talking. Eventually, we replaced our 400 with an 800. He's right, you know. Star Raiders is one of the best games ever made on any system anywhere ever in the entire universe forever. Yep. Accurate. So TurboFlex is another version of DFlex, which is a game that he also kind of remade a lot of times over and over again for a lot of different platforms over the years. You see Super D-Flex for the Spectrum over there, and Turbo Flex, and all that stuff. But I guess Turbo Flex is not playable. But we do get the Atari 8-bit version of Gridrunner. May the power of the grid preserve you. Oh yeah, that's some Atari sound hardware right there. This seems like a pretty good version of it. I don't know. Very flashy, very it pulsates in a different way. All right. The Midland Computer Fair. Selling games out of a booth. Like this little handwritten. Now available for 48K Spectrum. Headbangers Heaven. The funniest game of the show. Andy's Attack, which was the renamed version to further differentiate it from Defender. We'll get named Andy's Attack. Centipede for under £2. Now we're in business. Time for some lawnmower gaming. This is hey. You've never played a game like this before. All right, let's steal some lawnmowers. Little intro cutscene. Jim won't mind if I borrow his mower. Okay, we've got to mow the lawn. That's it. We've got some tools at our disposal here. That's Jim. He'll steal his mower back if he gets to us. Also, if we mow too hard, the mower overload meter will fill up. You know, as with a real lawnmower, really. We're running out of dog tolerance. I can hit the button at any point and make the dog attack, which I don't really need to do here, but we're about to run out of dog tolerance. And so now the dog is also trying to get me, which happens pretty fast. I feel like that it happens at an unfair speed. This game I would call kind of fucking difficult. So we'll make the dog attack, just feather that dog button so we can get over here. Since that guy can't get over the bushes, we can safely clear out this area. And then we've just got to get everybody out of the middle. You don't get all the opportunities you'd like to go full speed in the lawnmower, but once it really gets cooking, it's pretty cool. All right, let's get everybody over here. Okay. So we're out of dog tolerance, which means the dog will try to get us. If we hit the dog with the lawnmower, we get stunned. Which then, you know, makes it pretty easy for Jim to get his lawnmower back. Prepare for more mowing. And we get a canine fidelity bonus, which is nice. Because we didn't use the dog all that much. Also, they really don't like it when you run over the flowers. They really don't like that. And so, we can, the dog touched us, which overloads the mower. So we'll have to use some dog meter, burn some dog meter. This game is ridiculous. But so this was another, I had a copy of this and, no! The dog touched me again! Okay, let's try and get everybody over here, and then we'll go over to the other side. Does he not want to get close to the dog? I assume that's what it is. No. And when we run out of dog loyalty, we can no longer call the dog. So you're pretty fucked when that happens. Ah! Try and kite everybody over here. Oh, you know what it is? If you hit the flowers, another character appears. That's what it is. Let's just do that real quick. Yeah. Oi, off my flowers, you lunatic. And then she is not. That person is not swayed by the dog. All right, we lost Jim's mower, so we'll just nip and borrow Tom's. No, get out of here. No. Dog. Handle my business. All right. Dog, fuck this guy into the dirt while I finish the level. Yay. Ah, the dog is stuck. There we go. All right, while they're down here, let's go handle up here. Uh-oh. What? I was robbed. Oh, that's it. All right. That's what you get. Good old Alf. He's a decent chap. But his lawnmower is mine. Yeah, kill that guy. Ordering my dog to kill a man so that I can keep his lawnmower. Damn it! No! Ah! That's Hover, I guess Hover Bover? I always thought it was Hover Bover because you would think it would rhyme, but like, what is Bover? And so I'm guessing it's Bover meaning bother, bruv. But it's, yeah, that, you know, as a child, that was beyond me. And so it was always Hover Bover. A rotary mower's blades hover off the ground. See, they explain it. But it's weird because, like, if you look at it, it seems like something that should rhyme. Flymo. Now, okay, now that makes sense. Because there is a sequel to this game. That is called Grand Theft Flymo. And I didn't know what Flymo was. Until just now. I've never seen the sequel to this game. It's I forget what platform it's on. Is it Gizmondo? It's like some Atari version. It's weird that that's not here. It's weird that that's not playable. Unproduced sequel called Gordon Goes Gardening. Wife loyalty. Yeah, look at all this stuff. Some hot Wicco joysticks. I was a big Wicco fan there. That big bat there. I had one with like a metal shaft and a ball. Metagalactic llamas battle at the edge of time. Ah! Spiders! We're fucked now. Oh. We can wrap around. This changes everything. Lining up diagonal shots is difficult. Like even when you know the angle, but it's something you get used to, right? It's something as you spend more time with the game, you lock in. I wonder if, since these shots bounce and hit the ground, I wonder if I can take out, like when they land like that, I wonder if I can... I don't know how I would line that up, though. This is fucked. Okay. One left. Nice. 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 All right, Commodore 64 version. Let's let this whole title spell out. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, this stuff is. Some of these games are interesting, but there was definitely like I feel like the slower speed just makes it more playable overall. It's not necessarily that it's easier. It's like you just, I don't know, you feel like you got a little more of a chance. Oh, God. It's rough. Stand by your llama. Okay. A mere £5 and 50p plus 50p for P&P. So yeah, now we're getting into what year was this? This is 84. Like 84 for the, or no, sorry. Was this still 83? Okay, so 83. I used to draw out fake games on graph paper all the time as a kid. It's why I liked graph paper, is because I would do stuff like this, but I was never a programmer, so full-on lawnmower strapped to the side. I'm gonna run to the restroom real quick. Sorry, and I'll be right back. So you look at this lawnmower bolted to a wall, and I'll be right back. Alrighty. Oh man, a full color ad, December 83. That would be a really good. I don't know if they ever did any t-shirts. but I feel like that the lower right corner of this would make a great shirt. Just the logo, the llama, the logo, have it say Awesome Games Software. I'm gonna call him up in Tadley and let him know. We'll go down to the Boots. We'll hit the High Street and go to Lasky's. A totally original arcade game for C64 featuring outstanding graphics and a soundtrack created by a professional piano wizard. Gordon Bennett has borrowed his neighbor's air-mow lawnmower. Mow your way through as many of the 16 lawns as you can before the pursuing neighbor retrieves the mower. Set your dog onto the neighbor to help you out of tight spots and don't annoy the gardener. Try not to plow through the neat flower beds or overheat your mower. Yeah. Okay, Revenge of the Mutant Camels. There's a fucking lot happening here. All right, I can jump. It's like Moon Patrol a little bit, I suppose, but not. My neutronium status. Now remember, you know, like at the time, there's a lot of other games coming out, you know. Not like this though. Or, you know, not unlike this, because you know it's like you're still shooting enemies in the air. You're still doing Space Invader-y, Galaxian-y kind of things, right? It's, you know, you're on the ground. You're okay. So now we got weird cats and dogs. It's raining cats and dogs. Oh, we can crouch. This changes everything. Look at that crouch animation. But yeah, games were not, yes, exactly. Games were not surreal like this. It would have been like, here's a spaceship. It's a circle on screen, and it shoots. You know, go look at Paradroid, which is heralded as a fantastic game. I never... We're all, our neutronium status is miserable here. Paradroid was, it's one of those things where you get a game with no instructions and you're just like, I have no idea what I'm doing here. And so I've never gone back and fully managed to understand Paradroid. But you know, it's circles and numbers and, you know, we made it to the pyramids. Manic Minter is a very funny name for a level. Also named levels, which is pretty crazy for the time. I'd like to see some of the Space Giraffe levels remade in this game. If we could get a Eyes of Allard level here. I'm just excited because we're getting closer to maybe the weirdest game. Oh, here we go. Some design docs. Shoot me kangaroo down sport is funny. Pink Floyd hammers. It's almost like Mega Mania in a sense, you know? All right. Now we're starting to see some beasties showing up on the stand at the show. Hellgate. All right. Yeah, Hellgate is kind of a follow-up to Laser Zone. I like that even the games that are just like space shooters and all that sort of stuff, you still get llamas on the title screen. Okay, it looks like you can no longer... Okay, no, did I shoot myself there? I'm trying to figure out if that is something I need to worry about. Oh, so you kind of save yourself with 4 of these. This is... Again, man, the VIC-20 has such a... Like, these games have such good sound effects on the VIC-20. Like, the C64 is the sound hardware is legendary. Like, you know, like, it's amazing. But sometimes a lot of games have that, like, very soft, bleepy, bloopy sound effects, especially the stuff from the kind of the early 80s. I'll just hold diagonally and mash the fire button and see what happens. I die is what happens. We die. This is crazy. This is so fucking much, dude. Like, there's so much happening. Laser heads destabilized. Yeah, this is, yeah, the sound effects for these VIC-20 games, I feel like, are awesome. A simple conversion. So how similar is this? We have Plaz Zaps. You see what I mean? The sound effects are way softer, you know? And that's, you know, kind of not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a different sound chip. And the C64 is capable of such amazing audio. But I think when you go back to some of these early games that just, sometimes they just don't have a lot of sound effects. And in the early days of C64... Of course, the prequel to Hellgate London. This is Hellgate Tadley. That makes sense. Lasergate Zone 2. Starting to sign the ads. Kind of cool. So it looks like he wrote the ad copy for Hellgate, at least. You see some things taking shape here as time goes on. Some motifs starting to form beyond just the games themselves. All right, sheep in space. I don't think I've played this. Oh, God. Can I? Okay, so I can change directions. Okay. So kind of a defendery sort of. Okay, we touched the water and died. I guess that's... Can I touch... Is this all water? Do we die if we hit the tree? Yeah, we do. Okay, I was like, is that a gate I can land in? What is that a... In the first millennium AMC star, a human colony was established in orbit around the neutron star Sothis B. A research team was established in a free-fall environment in order to study the extraordinarily dense star, and peripheral supply modules were maintained to support the colony. Uh-huh. Okay. The Zaxian stratagem. Yeah, naturally, of course. This is great art. It's so good. Your bullets, known colloquially as the bonios of doom. Okay. Landing on the planet, but only in the grassy fields. I see. Okay, so you can land. If it gets low, if your stomach gets low, land in a field to eat. While you're down, the stomach will fill and new shields will be added. Okay. D-jump. Pressing F1 will D-jump with preference to an upper planet target. Kill all hostiles by firing glowing bonios of doom at them. It's pretty straightforward. It's cool. The original painting for the Sheeps in Space logo. Box art.
The safety instruction card, located in the seat pocket in front of you, explains and illustrates the important safety features of this aircraft. This card should be read carefully before takeoff, and then returned to the seat pocket for use by our future passengers.
It's a good-looking stain.
The emergency exits are the 4 doors on the left side of the aircraft. And
The energized PB. Yeah, of course. Planet. Oh, Planet Buster. I see. Nuclear power plant. Spaceship factory ready to launch. So there's multiple. This is the default soundtrack, as you might expect. The ambient track is a little more ambient. Let's see, where were we? Let's just go through chapter 2, and then maybe we'll look at some of the other games, and then maybe do something else. I don't know. Where were we? We played Revenge of the Mutant Camels. Okay, this is where we are. Llamasoft newsletter, June 84. This is some desktop publishing right here, baby. The large breadhead software houses. So he had at this point he had a Tempest machine and a Star Wars cockpit machine in the office, I suppose, or in the house, or wherever they were at this point. Favorite character Neil makes sense. Oh, I'm more of a Vivian guy myself, but it's great fonts. Copyright and all that heavy breadhead. But yeah, his favorite character is Neil. So Brett, yeah, all right, yeah. All right, Atari version of Attack of the Mutant Camels. Oh. We are hitting. Oh. This is such a fast scroll. It's nice. But you always bounce off the llamas, which makes it a lot harder. Neutronium shielded laser spitting death camels. Yeah. We've all been there. It's good. This is a great ad. It's like not, I mean, ads, you know, the game's kind of at the bottom here. Also, this one is not, you know, not really about direct sales anymore. This one's like, go to Woolworth, go to WH Smith and buy these games. If you're a dealer, you can contact our distributor and get them. This is like serious business now. All right, here we go. A lot of flashing on the screen here, so if that's something you're sensitive to, you should be aware of that. this is a game. Again, not having the instruction manual for this game, you kind of have to puzzle it out yourself and figure out what the hell you do. And so this game always very much, because of the way the enemies and like you're shooting different bullets in every stage and stuff. Like everyone is kind of different. This one always reminded me of Mega Mania, the 2600 shooter, but there's a lot more going on here. Okay, so we're gonna go over here now. Basically, we did our time on that surface, and we've opened up the door. See the map there in the upper right part of the screen, kind of showing. Okay, and now we can leave. So let's try going this way. And so in a general sense, you have to figure out how to open up. And there's a hint button. I didn't know this was here until very recently, that there was a hint button in this game that would pause the game and tell you about the stage that you're on. Zap the yellow discs, avoid skulls. So we want to try to open up this side, I guess, if we can. Because you want to open up as much as possible. What's the point of this game? What are you trying to accomplish? I have no idea. I read some of the instructions for this recently and learned that... Okay, let's get on the bottom here. Let's hit the boot. Let's look. Fire at wall to open, but watch out for all the shrapnel. So does that mean I need to... Oh, so I need to shoot... I don't need to hit the boot. Do I need to hit the... Oh god, why did that stick there and immediately kill me? Crazy. Alright. So let's try to... Okay, yeah, that's exactly what you do. So that means I need to stand here if I want to open up the pathway to the right. And I don't know that I can anymore. Okay, yeah, you still can. So let's try and open up this one while we're... Oh, wait, no. We need to go over here. We can walk on it without teleporting to the next level. I'm almost dead. There we go. Let's go down. All right, now we're shooting lighters at Jeans. Ignite the Jeans with the lighter and shoot Hendy's head. Ah! So there's one more move that you have that I did not know until literally yesterday. Oops. Okay, well, let's just go. I'm all right, Jack. Keep your hands off my... Okay. You see the arrows there in the upper right kind of change color a little bit as you're getting closer to opening up the passage, I suppose. All right, the timer expired, so we can move on. We're shooting... Collect the white camel and zap the no smoking symbols, okay? Man. Wait, no, we didn't want to go back that way. And so you can kind of just end up... Once you open up these passageways, you just fly from level to level. What's blast the beverage of those ring pulls. Yeah, very straightforward. Let's go over to this wall. And so you just push a direction on the joystick to fly off of the floor in another direction, and then you can change direction in midair by hitting the button and a new direction. And since it's a one-button game, it's kind of, you know, multi-purpose. Let's go this way. Fire a few llamas, they turn to stars, then shoot the stars. Let's go here, because that passage is already open for some reason. Looks like I'm opening up the passage up. Yeah, so let's try and get the one going down. So this is crazy, you know, like especially like think about a lot of the games we've just been playing and how they're all like very single screen shooters in a lot of cases, and like, you know, relatively straightforward for what they are. And then you get to this and you're like, what the fuck am I looking at? Shoot the pellets, stand on the wall opposite your target. Okay. Oh, damn it, I missed it. So there's a... the other move you can do is blow yourself up. And doing so, I guess... Let's see if we can... Yeah, there we go. Oh, did I waste it by already being on an open floor? Or does it open the entire room? Okay, so it opens the entire room. So when you, like, get close to being out of health, you can pull a Revenge of Shinobi and just blow yourself up. And as you can see, this is, you know, these are all set rooms. Avoid marauding wine glasses, wait for bottles to fall down. Oh, we hit the wall. If you change direction and hit the wall, you die. Also, on top of that. Okay, we're trying to avoid these. Not doing a very good job of it. Okay, this is the best, this is the most I've ever done at this game. Like, I have an understanding of this game that I have not had ever in my life, because I mean, I'm sure I could have, like, sought out a scan of the instruction manual that didn't just exist as of yesterday, but like the hint button and all that, like just like stuff that I didn't even know was there initially. And so this game is, I'm doing much better at this game. Shoot all the beasts. Sometimes you're like out of bullets, and so I can't. Oh, okay. Do I have to push a direction on this stage? Okay, let's blow up. We're almost out of health. And so you see, there is a map here, over there in the upper right. You see I'm in room North 1, West 6. Okay, let's go down, I guess. I don't know. These are stages I've never seen before, man. Remote eye drips on the cats. Do not walk into walls. And it's cool because like every level has a slightly, well, not every level. A lot of them are just very simple, like, yo, man, shoot shit. But like the different rules that some of these levels have is it's fucking crazy, man. Am I getting any closer to opening up this? There we go. Looks like we're at an edge here. Oh no, we're not. That was not an edge. Leave potties as mines for the half cars to run into. But you see on the map there was no arrow pointing to the right, so maybe I can't go right from here. You know what? Let's experiment. Let's blow ourselves up and see if it opens up a pathway to the right. Even though that's a waste of a life. Half cars. What are the enemies in this stage? They're half cars. Just half. Just the front half. Or maybe it's the back half. Who can say? Oh. So I love this game. I think this game is fucking cool as shit. It is mysterious. Shoot Rory so he disgorges yellow CND signs, which you can zap. Okay, it looks like we can't go down from here. Ugh. I've never known anyone who, like growing up or anything. I never knew anyone who had this game, who knew anything about this game, who ever wanted to talk about this game. But it was like, when I was a kid, when I was in junior high, basically, this is when I got my C64, my 128. It was the most mysterious thing. Like, even here, it wasn't until, again, yesterday when I started playing this that I realized, like, oh, you're looking for the 6 key camels and the 5 goats of power. I've never gotten anywhere in this game, apparently. I've never done anything in this game other than see, like, the first 8 stages in some direction, or, and didn't know anything about the rules of it, really. It was just like this black box that you're just like, all right, I'm gonna poke at this and see what happens. It's a cool fucking game. You can order a map? Oh man. Challenging, witty, absorbing. Oh, the second issue. It's difficult to categorize this game. A progressive arcade game, 100 rooms in a 10x10 grid. Okay, so you get the keys and that will open up walls that maybe you could not open otherwise. I see. Doubtless, if I lived in Liverpool, I'd start calling it a mega game, but I don't go for all that hype bit. Good, good, good. Jack Tramiel making the papers. God, I guess, yeah, we're getting into that era where we're kind of talking about the 7800 and stuff like that, huh? That's... just a few paragraphs about joysticks. An MSX version of Gridrunner, wow. '84, rough times for the video game business. So, you know, U.S. publisher goes under, and then we got another video. We'll skip the video because, you know, I'm not gonna. And so there's kind of two. You have the play games menu that all of these collections have had that are just like, here are the playable games in the collection, and there's some weird stuff. We'll get into that in a minute. And you have this gameography, which is cool because there's stuff that is, or, you know, for one reason or another is not part of the compilation. And some of these, I like that some of these early games are just kind of lost, like the pet version of Deflex. So here's a recreation of it. In fact, like Jeff Minter put out like, here's a disk image for use in emulators. I reprogrammed, like this was like a couple of years ago. Like he just remade Deflex for the pet, presumably because they, you know, he wanted to have screenshots for this. I don't know if that's the case or not, but like, then we've got 3D, which is a great name for a game. Here's Defender. Ratman, which is not great. It's like some of this early work, especially, I think is pretty uneven. And I like that a lot of that stuff is represented here in the collection. I don't think it's all that interesting. Like if you're gonna look at someone's, you know, output, it's really easy to be like, here's the 8 hits that came out, or here's the 5 hits, and here's our compilation with 5. I like that there's just a lot more than that. And so yeah, this is the spot where we left off on the history of the timeline. He's just about to put out his first light synthesizer, which, you know, he did the visualizer for the Xbox 360 and for the Jaguar CD, but it had done some stuff like that previously. I hope this is playable in the collection. I should look, because this looks... whatever is happening here looks impossible to parse. The 90s would bring the Conix multi-system, which was that. So that's, I think, of the games that are in the collection, that is the interesting rarity, because it is a game that for a console that never came out. The Conix multi-system was canceled and never released, but he had started developing a game for it, and it never came out. They also, Defender 2000 is not in the collection, because Atari doesn't own the rights to Defender. Warner Brothers presumably does, and so, and this is, I wish that this was, in the compilation simply because I've never seen it. Tempest 3000. And then yes, he did the synthesizer, the visualizer for the Nuon. Here's that Hover Bover sequel I was talking about. I've never played that. And then I forgot about this. That they announced this, that there was a game that he was doing with Lionhead, with Molyneux, that got canned. And then this is the visualizer for the 360, and then we get into Space Giraffe, and then another version of Gridrunner, and then these iOS versions of these games. This is a pretty cool compilation. I don't think it's for sale anymore, but I don't know if any of these games are available on phones anymore. They might not be. This is a weird... This is weird, right? So TXK. He put this out on the Vita. It was not published by Atari. It is very Tempest-like, let's call it. This package is published by Atari because remember that they purchased Digital Eclipse, the developers of this compilation. Atari sued Jeff Minter. Like, when this came out, like Atari sued him, and I think they had at some point got the rights to this. Like this became theirs, and I think as part of that, I don't know if he was legally compelled or what the situation was, but I think if I remember correctly, this basically is Tempest 4000. Like when Tempest 4000 came out not that long ago here, yeah, in 2018. I think this is largely the same game as TXK, if I remember right. But it's been a long time since I played TXK, but I remember playing it and going like, oh yeah, okay, he did it again. He made another one of these. Cool. Also, the inclusion of the Atari VCS here I find very funny. As if that's a thing that's there's still some games coming out for it first that then come to Steam later that Atari is publishing or whatever, which is fucking bonkers to me, man. Minotaur Arcade, so we get a VR version of Gridrunner as a part of this. Moose Life is an awesome VR game. Polybius is also a great VR game. And then Aka R came out recently. So yeah, after the Atari lawsuit stuff and the Tempest 4000 stuff, obviously like Atari changed hands and a bunch of other stuff happened. And I remember seeing Minter probably on Mastodon because he's not on Twitter anymore. But maybe this was early enough that it was still Twitter. But talking about how like, oh, you know, like Atari is actually good now and we're doing some stuff together and you know, and then Aka R came out at some point. So you know, that relationship has come together again, I suppose, is what you would say. So this is sorted by year. So we were looking at 83, 84 here. Color Space, a light synthesizer. And so they've provided new menus for this, which I imagine you would have to just know what the keyboard controls were for this. And it, you know, it comes with built-in music because these machines didn't really have ways for you to play your own music. And so there's a few of these in the collection that you can play around with, which is neat. Revenge 2. I feel like the Mastertronic name is a sign of, well, they were, I guess, as I understand it, a budget label. Mastertronic did ship some games in the US, or I remember getting my hands on some games that said Mastertronic on them. And they were typically kind of bare bones, but Void Runner. So now we get into this 16-bit era here a little bit at the end, and there's not much of that here, but we do have Super Gridrunner for the Atari ST. I mean, this is pretty much a recreation of the Robotron attract mode little color cycle there in a lot of ways. What am I Can I use a mouse to? No, doesn't look like it. The ST is such a weird. I don't know. Like I don't have a lot of. So if I hold down this other button, then that cone will stay attached to me, but I can also let go and leave it behind for extra shots. But the look of this game, to me, this is what shareware Amiga games look like. Everything's a little too big on screen. There's just like something about 16-bit computer shareware games that I feel like they've always kind of looked like this. Or a lot of them looked like this at the time. Snakes can come from all sides of the screen. I mean, that is very much the Robotron font there. Typeface. Oh, yeah. That one came from behind. Calling me a scumbag is a little brutal. But that's a cool fractal. Yeah, I don't know, man. This isn't, like I said, you know, there's just some rough stuff about, like, this era of gaming and small game developers making, like I said, everything is just too big. It's cool that it's colorful, but it just doesn't, this doesn't sing the way, oh, yeah, did it again. The way that the previous versions of Gridrunner did. Here's another interesting little tidbit. All of these ST games in this collection have this note here saying, presented here is a port of the original Atari ST release running on the Atari Jaguar. So a number of games, like from a homebrew, like they weren't released commercially, but there are, or I don't believe they were released commercially for the Jaguar. But these ST games were getting ported to the Jaguar, and I'm guessing here, but I have to imagine that because they already have such a damn near perfect Jaguar emulator at their fingertips, it was probably a lot easier to take these versions of the games and just run them on a fake Jaguar than it would be to build an Atari ST emulator. I'm just guessing that that's the reasoning there, but also, you know, because those are already ported to work with controllers, and I'm sure there's just a lot of easy stuff here. So here's this Connex multi-system. It's not a complete version of a game because, you know, obviously the console never even came out. And this has been out there before. This isn't something that's like brand new for this collection. You can find this online. Like someone made a core for the Mister for the Connex multi-system, which is even crazier when you think about it. The idea of an FPGA core for a system that was never released, but, you know, a lot of the particulars of the system and how it was built are available, and so enterprising emulator authors took it upon themselves to make that a reality. And now here it is, commercially available. Oh! I like the crash and burn, though. That's real cool. Camel launched. All right. I feel like sizing in games, especially like in the early 90s and stuff, maybe it's just more out of the UK than some other games. But, you know, like I was talking about with that Gridrunner ST version, like when we look at the movement and all the other stuff kind of happening here, it's everything on screen is a little too big to be practical, you know? Like if everything was smaller, like, but your maneuverability would be better. You would get around and see these camels, and you know, but like the camels like barely on screen because you're flying so fast and everything is so big. Yeah, Gates of Zendikon vibes for sure. I agree. I want to see the camels. I want to see the camels for a good long time. And I'm barely seeing the camels. It's a very abrasive sound. So yeah, this is an interesting curiosity, you know. And it's cool that this made it into the collection. It's such a weird. Go read up on the Conix multi-system if you want. There are like websites devoted to it. All right, here we have Llamatron, which this came out on a lot of different platforms over the years as well. I don't know if that's the first use of that version of the Llamasoft logo. But, you know, if you thought the other games maybe had some inspiration from Eugene Jarvis releases, this one goes the rest of the way. This is a very nice and convenient way to play it because they've mapped the controls to make it a good proper dual joystick shooter, which wasn't always easily possible on some of these platforms. But yeah, this version of the game, they did say, you know, something that I guess some of the sound effects in this game have been removed because for like licensing reasons. So there's probably a more. Oh. That was a... I believe that's the ooh from Clax. But I don't know that I've played this specific version of Llamatron enough to know like which sound effects would be new and which ones would be replaced. Oh, okay. In the brainwave, they're gonna. Evil hamburgers, some kind of fractal, you know, video games. Oh, gosh. But I guess like that's kind of the thing, you know. And when you look at his more modern stuff, when you look at the more modern Llamasoft releases, I think that this is becoming even more of a theme as he goes with a lot of the 80s arcade sound effects and stuff. Like, there are just so many Defender and Robotron noises and stuff like that in those games. But like, even like, there's, you know, I think Polybius, it's either Polybius or Moose Life, but one of them has like full-on sound effects from like Zookeeper and a bunch of other 80s arcade games, not just the, you know, kind of classic Williams stuff. Ah. And that would be a thing, you know, in a lot of other games, like Space Giraffe has a... In fact, the sound on my soundboard came out of Space Giraffe. Like, it's got this KLF sample in it. The jams, if you must. I don't know if the story is true or not. It's probably something I would, you know, if something I would certainly ask about in my documentary about all. But there's a story saying that that at one point he had to reach out to ask for permission to use that sample, to use that sound effect in Space Giraffe. And that basically, you know, the response was kind of a, hey, if you have to ask, the answer is no. Which, you know, it's still in the game, so you kind of just have to take that as, if you have to ask, the answer is no, is just do this and never let us know about it ever again. I've had to be that way with some things over the years, like from a legal perspective. Which I think, yeah, it's very, that fits the. So I guess the Jeff Minter's voice is on one of those, like, the modern KLF releases. Like, there's that Jarvis Cocker version of I think that's what it is, but there's like, he was one of the, like, they recorded a group singing the song and dressed them all up and had them sing as part of their, like, annual, like, Day of the Dead festivities or whatever, and he was there for that and is apparently singing in the background on that. Well, like 40 other people. It's not like you're going to listen to it and be like, oh, that's Jeff Minter. But kind of a fun little trivia thing, I suppose. You must grab all beasties. Oh man. That's pretty good. This is a pretty good version of Llamatron. You know, having it in your hand with a dual joystick controller and all that sort of stuff. We have Revenge of the Mutant Camels for the ST. And then we have Tempest 2000, which is the most modern game in the compilation. Of course, this was part of Atari 50. This is a great soundtrack. Or at least this track is great. I know that there's other stuff on the soundtrack, but I think it's interesting. You know, Jeff Minter has basically become synonymous with Tempest, and that's weird because he didn't make Tempest. He made this, and that this has kind of become the definitive version of Tempest. Oh God, is well. I mean, it's sensible because this is a great. I mean, I prefer this to the original Tempest. I guess I would say. But I think it's, you know, like you go all the way back to the beginnings of this documentary and you look at like, hey, he put out a game called Centipede on the Spectrum back in '81, and you go like and a lot of his career is interpolating other people's work in various ways. In a lot of cases, it's just audio and kind of referential audio, which I think is pretty rad. I guess it's not the Spectrum, it's like the ZX81 or something, right? So, does this game have TXK? No, this is the newest game on the collection. And I think that it's interesting because it's like to me, like that is a lot of the kind of like bedroom programmer aesthetic, right? And he did it much more directly than I think I think other companies did it in like shameful ways where they're just like cranking out games that feel like bootlegs. I like Space Pilot for the Commodore 64, but it is a very shameless version of Time Pilot. Whereas I feel like Llamasoft brings their own aesthetic and their own, and in some cases their own concepts to the work. And you go back and look at some of those earlier games and go like, oh yeah, this is kind of like you see a little bit of maybe like a touch of Missile Command here, or you know, or what have you. None of that work feels shameless. It feels like he is in some ways like not unlike the KLF, I suppose. Like there's a sampling, a remixing, or something going on. All right, we made it to the bonus stage. That's all I really wanted to do. Yeah, this game did come to the PC as well, but it is mostly known as like the only good game on the Jaguar. I'm only slightly exaggerating there, really. So I haven't really gone through the totality of the documentary section of this yet, but I guess one thing I'd say so far is I guess I want to know more about Jeff Minter. Like this is covering his time in games, and it's talking a lot about, you know, the decisions he was making then, and there's some personal anecdotes that happen along the way through that in terms of like, well, he was ill, and that provided him with a lot of time to. I can't move up any higher. Oh.
Super Zapper recharge.
And so I wonder, you know, there was, like I said, some of this stuff I think, you know, is coming from footage shot for that documentary, and I wonder then if that documentary, because it needs to be different than the stuff included here, presumably, will have, I don't know, a wider scope.
Super Zapper recharge.
And it just feels like there's not a ton of video so far. And the video that is there are these very short, and you know, Atari 50 was kind of similar in that the videos were very focused on topic. Like here's the video about Gridrunner. And it's great that there's a video about his llamas and his sheep, and so, you know, like there's that aspect of it as well. But I think so far, as I make my way through the kind of early 80s part of the gameography and the story, it feels I guess a little impersonal. A little professional, I guess I would say, in its focus. We're back here again. I forget what it is, but I think I seem to remember someone taking this texture that we're swimming through here and getting it and straightening it out, and it's a picture of something. Is it a picture? Presumably it's a llama. I'm just gonna guess and say. Ah!
Super Zapper recharge.
But, you know, eventually you get to later stages and the music changes. But I think that first track on the soundtrack there that you get through the first 10 or 15 levels or whatever it is fucking killer. And then we have this reimagined version of Gridrunner, which I have not tried yet. But much like they did a remastered version of Karateka and did a new version of Karateka, they've done that with Gridrunner as well. All right, so far this looks a lot like the C64 version of Gridrunner, spread out. Oh, okay, all right. Looks like that bar just shrinks as I shoot the centipede. Render mode, okay. Yeah, okay, so it's running. It's running the real game underneath. That's fun. Ah! Ah! This version, you know, because of the size of it, it feels a little harder to see the ship on the left side of the screen. And so timing your, like, oh, I need to move up, I need to move down, is more difficult, for sure. Stop it, man! Oh, God. Well, I don't know. Yeah, it's Gridrunner. It's kind of on par with the stuff in Atari 50, more so than like that remastered Karateka thing has achievements and all kinds of like really crazy stuff in it. Like it's such a like like that thing's amazing. That new old version of Karateka in that collection is worth the price of admission alone, I think. Like that whole story is fascinating as well, but like that stuff's cool, man. This is, yeah, and Gridrunner is maybe not as complex of a game as Karateka is, I suppose. Ah. This seems like something that should be in VR, like the way it's kind of floating in the distance like that. It has, it feels like something that belongs in virtual reality. Okay, so it's just the same, the C64 version manual here. Okay. It's a good swath of games, but I think that there's... This just doesn't feel like it's the full story, I suppose, you know? And I guess maybe that's why it's cool that documentary is still in production, because, you know, maybe there'll be more of the kind of more of that stuff. But I guess like from a like games that are in this collection, it's just there's a ton here. But also at the end of the day, I don't know in this day and age how often you're going to go back and play, you know, Vic 20 version of Andy's Attack. Like it's interesting curiosity and you know, I think when you play it, you go like, oh, this handles better than you think it would, but it's not. This is not a game I would spend an hour with, for example. Some of these games, certainly, like Ancipital, like, yeah, why not? Attack of the Mutant Camels, hell of a game. Like some of these games I have already spent hours and hours with, you know? And so a lot of this stuff is still very playable. but there's this gap, and it's like I don't know, you know. You wouldn't do it for the console versions because that'd probably be harder, but I feel like there should be a package of this, because a lot of, you know, all of the not all of it, but a lot of the kind of post Tempest 2000 output of Llamasoft is already available on Steam, and presumably that's why that stuff's not really here, because you can go buy Space Giraffe on Steam right now, you know. And it's also possible that there may be some rights issues with some of those games, depending on who published it and so on and so forth, that I'm just not privy to. They did say with Defender 2000 that it is specifically because they don't own the rights to Defender, which is sensible. Like, of course they don't. They had a license. Atari had a license to produce that the same way they did with Tempest. And, well, no, Atari did Tempest, but, you know, Midway, Williams, for example, that's the company responsible for Defender, and so presumably that is all owned by Warner Brothers now. And if we know a thing about Warner Brothers, they love to not put stuff out. So yeah, like, I guess, like, that's the thing, is like there should almost be like a director's cut version of this that also includes everything. It's like, here's Polybius, here's, you know, which I already own all that stuff, but I think that there's, I don't know, more coverage of his later output in the timeline and that sort of stuff, I think would be, some of that stuff is in there, but like not, yeah, I don't know. And of course, TXK is a Vita game, and no one wants to keep a Vita around anymore, so getting another actual version of that would have been cool. A Nuon emulator would be rad. It's a ridiculous. I guess the other thing is like the other Tempest, you know, because there's PlayStation versions of Tempest 2000 that they just called. What did they call those? There was those Tempest 3000. Tempest X3, that's what it was. Yes. Tempest X3 for the PS1 and I believe the Saturn. But at the end of the day, those are just like, that's just kind of Tempest 2000, you know? The visualizers, it would be cool if that stuff, like, even, you know, like it'd be a hacky thing to do, but if those visualizers actually work as real visualizers, to hook up the ability for you to play your own audio through them would be rad. And of course, the Jaguar, Nuon, and 360 visualizers were built to do just that. So that would have been neat to see. So then at that point, what are you doing? You're like talking to Microsoft and say, hey, we want to license part of the Xbox 360 dashboard from you. So maybe that's kind of weird. Yeah, Steam is doing a bundle. There's what does that include? There's a Llamasoft and Atari bundle that has Aka R and Tempest 4000 in it. So, you know, there are ways to get your hand, but obviously, like, all those games are still on Steam. Let me just double check. Space Giraffe. Yeah, Space Giraffe is $10 on Steam right now. Published and developed by Llamasoft. You could get your hands on that right now. Space Giraffe is a weird game. You think it's Tempest, but it's not Tempest. And some of the ways it is not Tempest are intriguing, and some of the ways it is not Tempest can be at times frustrating. Space Giraffe is interesting. I don't think it's I don't know that I would say that Space Giraffe is like an amazing video game, but I do like it. It's like I said, it's a very interesting thing. It's an interesting kind of checkpoint in the Llamasoft catalog as well, I think, because, you know, you kind of end up like, hey, here's a thing that is ostensibly like Tempest, but we're not doing the rights to that anymore. You know, TXK is kind of a weird kind of thing in the middle of all that too. But I would say my general feeling with this is that it is very good and there's room for more. And so I don't know, like, but I think Jeff Minter's recent output, I think, you know, he's working on something right now. He's always posting about little bits and tidbits. I don't know exactly what it is he's doing at the moment, but he does have a game in development, at least one. So he's working on something. But I think Moose Life is so cool and Polybius is so cool. Like, even if you're not playing them in VR, they're still good. But I think, like, I maintain that, like, when VR shuts down, when VR like, you know, when VR folds and closes up shop, I hope that we still somehow make some allowance for the hardware to exist in a way that Jeff Minter can continue to make things in VR. I think Jeff Minter and Tetsuya Mizuguchi are the only people that should be making things in virtual reality. Everything else, like, whatever, man. Yeah, I don't know. Like, this doesn't feel like as much of a, like, the Karateka thing. I think, you know, there was, and maybe it's just a different level of available material or something to that effect. But, like, the Karateka package felt like it just had a lot more humanity in it. And this feels like it's, in some ways, this feels like this could have been presented as, hey, on a separate menu, we've got dev interviews and featurettes. Like, this doesn't feel like that I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's telling a story as a documentary. It feels like, hey, here's the games, here's all the ads and all the assets for the games, and we've also got some meaningful interviews that we've put here, and here. That are focused on that point in 1983. We're talking about this thing here, but it just, I don't know. Like, and I wonder if it's because some of this footage was pre-existing or whatever. That I wonder. You know, I don't know what the situation is there, but this just, yeah, I don't know. This does not feel as, in some ways, this does not feel as substantial and as personal and as in depth as some of the stuff in Karateka. And some of that is, of course, down to the available material, where Jordan Mechner has been, yeah, he's been very good about keeping stuff. And so there's probably just a lot of material to work with there. But, you know, there's all the graph paper and some of the design docs and stuff here and all of that. Like, I don't know. I don't know. But I think I was hoping for a little bit more out of some of the video. And to be fair, I've not watched all of the video yet. It just seems like cruising through that timeline in search of the videos, it just doesn't seem like there's as much as you maybe want. So that's kind of, you know, it's kind of a bummer, I guess I would say. But, like, that said, I think these are cool fucking games and they're presented in a fascinating context. And you get the ability, you know, the easy ability to go and read the manuals, and some of the more esoteric keyboard controls have been mapped to a gamepad to make these games much more playable than they ever were before. And so I think that there's just a lot there that I think makes it a pretty awesome package. But yeah, I'm going to keep messing with it, of course, and watch all the videos for sure. It should just have a button like that. What they should have set up a live camera pointed at the field, and there should just be a button or a thing in the corner whenever you launch this thing that is just like, here's what's happening in Wales. Here's the sheep. Here's what they're doing right now. That would have been pretty rad. Anyway, that's gonna do it for me here. I was originally gonna play some Contra, but we spent all this time with the Llamasoft catalog, so I'll they stream that some other time or do something with it. I don't know. We'll be back on Friday to play some 8-bit Nintendo games like we do on these Fridays. We'll get another batch of games rated and ranked for that ridiculous list that we're building. And this is out now. If you wanna get in your Llamasoft collection, the Llamasoft of the Jeff Minter story. What do they want for this? $30. Yeah, totally. That feels absolutely appropriate for the price for sure. 42 games is the final count. Okay. Yeah. I might say that, if we dedupe some of those and say like, there's 3 versions of Gridrunner, there's 4 or 5, but yeah, 42 games, solid collection, I would say. I wonder what they'll do next. I wonder what the next like Gold Master Series digital Eclipse thing would end up being. I think that I think a Eugene Jarvis would be cool, or like that era of Midway, like an early 80s arcade Midway, I think would be fucking killer. So yeah, there's a ton of Japanese stuff that you could think about as well. Archer McLean would be interesting. He's no longer with us, but so I don't know, what material you would have for that, but yeah. That could be cool. Yeah, this is the Whoopi Camp documentary. Finally, the story can be told. Yes, a remastered, remade version of Tomba 2. Or yeah, do a Silicon Knights, and yeah, that'd be. There's a lot of stuff. I think that like the early days of Midway, I think would be a really interesting story from the time I've spent talking to some of those guys. Molyneux would be cool too. Yeah, that's a good pull as well. Rights issues on getting that catalog together might be a fucking nightmare though. In terms of getting all the Bullfrog stuff, like you're working with EA at certain points in that. You're probably working with Microsoft at certain points in that. Like there's just a lot. An Activision thing would be cool. Maybe that's something Microsoft would be open to doing in partnership with them or something. I don't know. Now that they own the rights to all of that, but Molyneux would be interesting because and there's a lot. Again, there's a lot of stories that like I don't know what you. Like the late era Molyneux, Lionhead, Milo, like all the stuff that happened with Molyneux in near the end of his run there with Microsoft, and then the what's inside the Cube 22 can stuff is like that's like borderline lawsuit material at some point, isn't it? So it's like there's just a lot of stuff there that would be. It'd be super weird. You would have to navigate so many rights issues with EA to do all the Bullfrog stuff, which is doable. I mean, like all that stuff is doable. You just have to cut them all in, right? So, and make it worth their while, which that's where it all falls apart, is getting lawyers to work. They hate it. They hate doing it. But yeah, okay. All right. Do get Warner Brothers on the phone and tell them to stop erasing video games and instead let you interview people about Defender and Stargate and navigate the rights issues so you can call it Stargate instead of Defender 2. And all that. I think that'd be a good one, like a pre-Mortal Kombat. What's that? What's that cover? Emulate some pinball games while you're at it. Get some classic. No, I don't know. What do you do? Like, there's like eras of Midway, right? What did Sway's documentary cover? That was like a little later than I'm talking about, but yeah, like all of Jarvis's stuff, and totally, like all that kind of pre-MK, like early days of arcade to like pre-MK might be too many. You could probably split that in two somewhere and be like, I don't know, High Impact Football goes into part 2. Narc, Smash TV, and Total Carnage. I've just about cleared out enough of my garage to be able to play my Smash TV cabinet. I'm almost there. Just need a few more weekends out there moving boxes around and consolidating stuff and throwing it away. It'll happen. It's got a multi-jam in there, so it'll also run Total Carnage. I just got to push a little. It's got both boards in there. But it's been years since I've turned it on, so I'm sure it's probably broken by now. That's how arcade cabinets work. But yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, Jarvis, like the Eugene Jarvis. You could even do, that'd be a weirder one, just a Eugene Jarvis focused one that is like, it's got Target Terror in it and all the Raw Thrills stuff. American Idol. Yeah, not about licensing. Jesus. All right. I'm going to go eat some lunch or something. We'll be back on Friday to play 8-bit Nintendo games. So come on back through. Have a good one.